There's an old proverb we've heard all our lives. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I call that phrase bunk. I believe in hard work. Worked hard all my life. I don't consider myself dull at all. Hard work made my successful life and my family possible. My name is Vermillia. I ran a successful business in Glens Falls from 1845 until just before my death in 1906. That's over 60 years. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I earned everything I got in this life. I was born poor in Brooklyn, December 14th, 1825. My parents were George and Maria Vermillia. My father worked in provisions, always working for someone else, never his own boss. When I turned 17, I set out to make my fortune, become the man I expected myself to be. Found myself in Warren County. Guess you can say that's where the depot was, where the train landed. I first worked general labor in Queensbury. Then I got a job in a produce store in Glens Falls. I learned the store trade quickly, and I knew with hard work, I'd soon be my own boss and ready to settle down, start a family. I made some deals with the people with power and money. I opened up the first general merchandise store in Glens Falls. It was located at the top of Glen Street Hill near the Rockwell House. It wasn't the best building, but with hard work, I made it a success and knew it was time to find a wife. Found her with a person named Mary Salter. Her father, William, and her mother, Isabel, lived in Brooklyn. They moved the whole family to Glens Falls. We were married in May 1848. I was 22 and she was 16. We moved into a residence at 132 Glen Street between South and Pine Streets. Mary lived there for over 70 years. We didn't start our family for a few years. Our son Albert was born in 1855, called an Allie. The following year, our daughter Emma was born. I rented the store from John Akins Ferris. In 1863, he informed me he was selling the property to the Glens Falls National Bank. I moved across the street, purchased 5 and 7 Warren Street, the Peck Building. I was just getting settled into the new store, and May 31st, 1864, the Great Fire of Glens Falls destroyed over 100 buildings, including mine. Now, I was in the business of the delivery of daily goods, and I knew I'd go bankrupt if I didn't find a way to sell my meat and produce. I met with the village trustees even before the fire was completely out. I set up a tent and was able to sell my products by the afternoon of June 1st. Boldly, I erected the tent right in the middle of the street down at Bank Square. Immediately began construction of a new building, more than 3 stories tall at my previous address. Now, the site of 57 Warren Street is one of the finer spots for commerce in all of Glens Falls history. Dr. Billy Clark, the famous temperance man, he ran an apothecary there. There was a medical school, Glens Falls Press, Fonda's Masonic Temple located there. My outside business, only outside activity I had was Senate membership in the Senate Lodge 456, accepted in Freemasons. At the time of my death, I was the oldest Master Mason in town. I didn't have to go far for the meetings, as their lodge was right next door to my store. Many men in the community, they wanted me to run for office, but I felt I was too busy. But in a weak moment, I ran for assessor. I held that office 1883 to 1884. That was enough politics for me. And it turned out I was too busy. We'd hoped to teach Allie the business, to run the business, but tragically he was born with handicaps. He was deaf, mute. He died in 1877. Mary and I were heartbroken. We'd wanted someone to take over the business. but he wasn't able. About this time, our daughter Emma, she began courting young men in the community. Seems she was very interested in the social status of a well-to-do father, but not at all interested in her father's business. In 1882, she brought James Woodward Hunting of Madison, New Jersey home to meet Mary and I. He was smart, eager, 4 years younger than she was. He had just moved from Madison, New Jersey and got a job at the Glens Falls Coal Company. He wanted to take over the management of the company. By 1900, he was chairman. Now, Emma's wedding in 1883 was a big social event in Glens Falls. It appeared in all the social columns of the New York papers. Reverend Fennell of the Presbyterian Church officiated. And John Dix, who was later governor of New York, he served as an usher. Senator Rockwell, Congressman Johnson, and Second Auditor Ferris of the federal government of Washington were invited guests. Now, the following year, there was another fire in Glens Falls. The Vermillia store had some minor damage, but we were back in full swing rather quickly. With the growth of Glens Falls, many developers wanted to buy our home on Glen Street. The business district continued to develop and buildings were coming up all around our home. Mary, she was happy there. So in 1895, I spent much money, built a colonial chimney onto the home, and that would serve a handsome cherry-mantled fireplace in the library. Showed the people were going to be there for a while. Mary lived there until she died. Then McPhillips built a building there for their insurance company. The early years of the 20th century, I was growing old, still went into work. Even after being diagnosed with Bright's disease, a malady of the liver, I continued working. And just prior to my death, I was still going to the store, even though I had to be carried from the carriage into the building. Now, in 1905, R.E. Hoke purchased my store. Shortly after my death, he liquidated everything and went to his other business, which had been my main competition. I lived a good, long life. Emma and Mary continued the family business, and with their shrewd dealings, they were able to purchase most of the buildings and the lots on Waite Street. After Mary's death in 1927, Emma deeded all the properties on Waite Street to her children and her grandchildren. Except for me, the men in the family died young. Emma's husband, James, he died in 1909. Later, she married Frank Gilchrist, who happened to take over James's job down at the coal company. The family still has a presence in the area with many great-great-grandchildren, with the names of Sherrill, Hunting, Carruthers, Covey. I hope they encourage good hard work is the way to success. Good day to all.